announcement to make. Gary Oak is a bitch-ass motherfucker. Good morning, everybody.
I have an announcement to make. Gary Oak is a bitch-ass motherfucker.
I just did that joke.
Yeah, but my Ash voice is better.
Yeah, but you can't do my joke.
But they saw you do it first.
I know, but no, they didn't, because nobody's here. If you're here and you saw me do my joke and you like my Ash Ketchum voice better than Jack's, like and subscribe.
Use the penny emote.
We're ready to fight.
We're ready to fight.
You gotta tap you gotta use the tap screen.
Nope. What happened?
I don't know, you broke it.
I broke it immediately. No, seriously.
Start pressing B. Nope.
I broke it immediately.
Oh, click like a little higher than you think. Oh, never mind. You got it.
You're right. I do have to click a little higher than I think.
Battle rules. No restrictions.
No restrictions.
Conflame. And now it's gonna be like, yeah, would you just save your game? And you gotta be like, yes, I want to save my game. You gotta be like,
no, fuck. I forgot which button is which.
Oh no!
My Ash Ketchum voice is slowly getting worse.
The joke was, because my beautiful wife missed it, I have an announcement to make. Gary Oak is a bitch-ass motherfucker. You're really struggling over there.
Yeah, it's hard.
Let's have a single battle with no restrictions. Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good. I forgot that B is A and A is B.
Yeah.
Should just be.
Battle contest.
Battle start.
Please select the Pokemon that you want to enter in order. Oh, I forgot what my team was. Cool.
Same.
I remember now.
We've been
doing this off stream with other Pokemon games.
Oh, I have a Golett in 2
all
games.
week.
That's fine. Stream game doesn't count for the restriction.
Stream game doesn't count for what restriction?
The Pokemon can't use the same Pokemon.
Oh, yes it does.
Well, I have a Golett in 2 games.
Oh, that's what you meant. No. We can't use the same Pokemon as each other.
Yeah.
The like, we can only do the same Pokemon thing. That was like or you can't use the same Pokemon in 2 different games thing. That was a personal restriction.
Ah, okay.
I'm trapped in the fiery vortex. Rude. I say, using sleep powder. Listen, I have very few options here.
Fucking sleep powder. Careful, if you use Gust, you're gonna gust away all the sleep powder.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
It would work in the anime.
Yeah, well, the anime's stupid.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. You have to admit, the anime is really stupid.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
I fucking love it.
It's really good. It's good in the way of like, wow, that's so dumb. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm stuck in a fucking
like me.
You're not dumb. I do love you though.
Oh yeah, I'm not allowed to call myself dumb or stupid anymore.
Yeah. It's against the law.
Because I have not been in college classes, and the average student.
No, you've seen what actual stupid looks like. So
the amount of like the same question that people ask because they're not fucking paying attention is redonkulous.
Yeah, it's redinky dog. Dog, you're fucking running.
Yeah, Jack is smart and cool. Hi, Kenj, and no, I'm not. I'm smart, but I'm not cool.
You're cool.
No, I'm really not.
You're cool. Stop being mean to yourself.
I'm not cool. I'm not a cool person.
You are a cool person. Shut up. Are you saying I'm wrong? Are you trying to say that I'm wrong? Are you trying to say that I'm a lying liar?
Yes.
Well, stop it.
Get some help. Oh,
You
you're
get
faster
some
than
help.
me.
Yeah, I hit you with... No, I'm not faster than you. You hit me first. You just paralyzed me.
Oh.
And I decided that I wasn't going to take that. Julie's like,
I don't hang out
I'm not
with
dealing with
lamos
that.
and
I'm
I'm
not dealing
here
with that
all
shit.
the time.
what? No, I don't want to forfeit the match. I want to switch my fucking Pokemon. Really shouldn't have said that out loud.
Welcome to being a streamer. You say shit out loud and you're like, oh, shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I mean, oh, you bitch. I hate the taste of my own medicine. Hi, Kenj. I just noticed you were here.
I've been talking to Kenj this entire time.
Yeah, well, I just noticed. I was busy being a Pokemon master.
I was busy being a Pokemon master.
You fucking leech seeded me?
Yeah, I did.
Rude.
Leech Seed is way cooler in the anime.
Yeah, leech seed's way more powerful. Well, all moves are way cooler in the anime.
That's
They're
true.
using fucking Gust and, like, other weird shit. We should send out Juliet
No?
so I can fucking blast it. Make up. Grab a bunch of make up. Why we get about table? Want to? Yeah, Flabe. Flabe has those moves.
Oh shit. Vessel has rollout.
I'm not terribly worried about the first kid to roll out yet.
And
If
you're
I
still
w-
leech seeded.
I know I'm still leech seeded. Shut up.
Come on, Pestle. Come on, Pestle.
Vessel's not gonna do it.
Come on, Pestle.
Vessel's not gonna do it.
Ah,
Vessel's gonna
my
get fucking.
boy.
Yeah. Listen, I love you, Pestle, but also, die. Die.
What?
You really
what
don't have a
steps
lot
are
of
you
good
doing?
options against, Flambe now. Oh, wake up. Grab a brush, put a little makeup.
Ah,
Why leave keys upon the table? Why would you be able to have your flame burst?
I just have to. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, it's neutral, so. Ow. That's rocks.
It's rocks.
You hit me with rocks.
I did.
That's fucking rude.
Yeah.
That's rude as hell.
Hi, Ham.
Hello, Ham.
Have
Flamby. Yeah, it's
My keys are on the table because that's where there is space.
Oh, why'd I do that?
Why did you do that?
I don't know, I'm stupid. I'm stupid, okay? I'm stupid. Ugh, no good options here.
Maybe today is the day I kick your ass.
Maybe. I'm fucking tired. Look, I'm really distracted right now, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Not very effective. What about this one? I'm not good with type matchups. I
No,
forget them
that'll
all the
be-
time.
That'll be, neutral.
Rounded itself with the veil of water.
It gradually heals me over time.
my,
What are you saying, anyway?
I don't know. My mouth stopped working halfway through my
bitch.
sentence.
Look at that. It's not gonna do anything.
That's fine. You can
Still
do
gonna
that.
it. Can heal a little bit.
Oh,
You
fuck.
can't sleep me. I'm paralyzed.
I don't know how things work.
You can only have one volatile status at a time.
Yeah, but maybe you would overwrite it. I don't know. I'd rather you be asleep.
Oh, I'm not dead. Cool. Well, if you would rather I be asleep, you shouldn't have paralyzed me.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
You're gonna kill me immediately, but like... It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just glad I survived. I'm just happy to be alive, okay? I'm really hoping it would somehow not kill me. It is not very effective because of my fairy typing. Wow, I have no good options here. Okay. I'll go for the least worst option.
He's so round.
I love him, he's very round. Come on, kill. Yes! Eat dirt! Ah, beans. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. It's fine. Fine, I should have swapped out before I couldn't. Fine. Fine, you've only got one more turn before I fucking pull you over anyway.
I don't know what moves are.
God damn it, a critical hit. I'm gonna faint. But not before you do! Good boy, Chestnut. You're pointy.
It comes down to this.
The jewel containing the ultimate power. I'm still stuck in the vortex and also rolling out, and I can't do anything about it. Aw, you cut me furiously.
I did cut you furiously.
Rude. Oh, that's okay. Go, Spurgus. Spurgus. Isn't she beautiful?
Isn't she lovely?
Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she copyright claimed? High five of death.
No! No!
World's deadliest high five. You ain't got shit.
I ain't got shit.
I'm gonna assure that you're dead. See all those guys back there? That's our Twitch chat.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
2-0.
We're actually 3-0.
Are we?
Well, that was the third gem.
Oh. Then why did it say 2?
I don't know. Ah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Ah. Ah.
Don't do it.
I'm not doing it. No. I don't want to do anything else with Jack. And by that I mean, yes, I absolutely do. Let's go in the tower and do Mega
Let's
Evolution.
go in the tower.
It's time for Mega Evolution.
How are my guys? They're good. Full health.
And we're gonna have another battle with Corina.
Ooh, where she
Oh,
goes
wait,
all out.
I didn't want to go in there. Yeah, where she goes all out. First we gotta... Oh, you may pass. And you may pass. It's true.
You may pass. Y-U-M-E.
Apparently the Mega Evolution Guru's real name is Gherkin.
P-A-S-S. You may pass. another party member for your noir clown, Chuckles Darkly.
Yeah, I love Chuckles Darkly. You know about my? I came up with a noir clown detective.
Yeah, so the party is now Chuckles Darkly and You May Pass.
You May Pass, yeah.
Rogue.
And a fellow investigator that Blackfoot came up with last night.
Oh yeah.
Perry Dolia. You can talk to anything that looks like a face.
That looks like a face?
Yeah.
It's a rock that looks like a face.
Here it is, your very own Mega Ring. It's in the shape of a bracelet. Well, why not call it a Mega Bracelet?
Because Mega Ring sounds cool.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Groove. Lucario, are you sure you want to battle alongside that trainer? No, you can't. I guess we have to battle Lucario versus Lucario to do the Mega Evolution tutorial.
Yeah.
This was considered this was considered in the rules and is not banned.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. Bracelets are just rings for giants if you think about it. Yeah, true. What is a ring but a bracelet for ants?
Mega Evolution. Power up punch.
Let's go.
Yeah. Simultaneous Mega Evolution. Boing, 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 boing.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I freaking love Mega Evolution. It is the best gimmick.
Yeah. So far, I think Mega Evolution is the coolest. Time to punch each other a lot. But it's the tutorial, so I'm guaranteed to win.
Yeah. I used punch twice and it worked. Roof.
Can I say no?
You can say no.
What happens if I say no?
You just don't get Lucario.
Well, we're not really allowed to use Lucario.
True. I'm just gonna put him back in the box as soon as I,
Sorry, Lucario. Can't take you with me this time.
I mean, you could just put him in the box.
Well, yeah, but that seems mean.
That's what I'm doing.
I don't want to leave him in a box forever when he clearly wants an adventure.
I'm leaving him in the box forever. Because
That's just not right.
I mean, I could use him in my team.
I guess because I said no, you can, huh?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I should have said yes.
I'm not gonna. I have my team all planned out already.
Yeah.
Although, fighting in steel I don't have it.
No, no, no. You already have your team.
Do I, though?
Yes! The rule was we couldn't use Lucario.
Yeah, that's right. We did actually decide that we couldn't use Lucario.
Because we thought there was no way of avoiding, like, getting him.
Yeah. Besides, I still have two Pokemon that I want to get. And
This
one of them
Lucario.
is a Steel type anyway.
Oh, this Lucario ends up with Arizona? Okay, cool. So it's only in the box for maybe 5 years. which direction?
To the east.
To northeast.
Yeah. Organizing my party order stream. Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Oh, hi, Serena. Ooh, surf.
Yeah, surf. Now I can actually get one of my planned Pokemon team.
Mm-hmm. Can any of my guys even learn still?
Better hope so.
Oh, do we not have, we don't have, friends that can... Oh, nope.
That's a shame. I guess you'll need a temporary surf user.
Oh, because it doesn't do the diamond and pearl thing, huh?
No, it does not.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, stinky.
Stinky.
Because you can't go anywhere without it.
Guess I need to replace one of my guys with a water Pokemon.
Or just temporarily.
How do I get a water Pokemon?
You have a fishing rod, don't you?
Maybe.
I mean, you probably do. You just ran in. You can ran into that guy. Yeah, you have an old rod. I don't know that you can catch anything other than Magikarps with it, but you know.
That's fine.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna be over here, trying to catch me a Tentacool. Because I think you can get one here.
I don't know if I can fish here.
Yeah, you can fish here.
Well, but it's like nothing's
Then
biting.
just keep trying. Aw, Mantike. You're not who I'm looking for.
Hi, Mantike. Mantike's cute.
Mantike is cute.
Oh.
I love Mantike. I can't get away, apparently.
Mantike says no, you must stay.
No. Stop.
Man, how fast do I have to be for this fucking Magikarp? There we go.
That fast.
You can fish anywhere.
Oh, it's a love disc.
I love
That should
disc.
work.
I don't really want a love disc.
Well, you need something. And if a love disc can learn surf, then you need that in your party temporarily. Just until you get to the next town. Yay! That's who I'm looking for.
You can fish anywhere, whether or not you're successful is another matter. Even on me.
Go in the ball. Go in the ball,
Yeah, I
Tentacool.
do.
Go in the ball. Tentacool, go in the ball!
There we go. You don't have a netball?
I do, but I want him in a Pokeball.
Oh, okay. Alright, I gotta love this.
Oh, no. Oh, good, I didn't kill it. Whew.
Love Disc
Really
is
scared.
cute. Love Disc does not get a nickname.
Love Disc's nickname is HM Slave.
HM Slave.
That's what we called him. Yeah! Tentacool got in the ball!
Nice.
Okay. What is her nickname? What's her name?
Tentacool calamari.
She's a jellyfish.
Yeah.
I'm not naming a jellyfish calamari.
But it would be funny.
Yeah, but I'm not doing that.
call them HM Mules, Penny. You might need to unpack some shit.
Look, I'm not the one that came up with that, okay?
Sounds like something.
Name it peanut butter? Okay.
Peanut butter? Oh, jellyfish. Okay, yeah.
That's actually great.
I'm forgetting how controllers work. No?
Oh no, it doesn't fit!
PB? Or peanut?
Just peanut. Her name is Peanut.
Who is not getting...
Who has the most XP right now? Like, who's the highest level?
Meringue. Alright, Meringue, hang out with Brioche and Sprinkle for a little bit.
Yeah. Good morning, welcome to the Pokemon Center. Would you like
Pea butter.
Pea butter. Wakame would be a good name too.
That'd be pretty good.
But I went with Peanut.
Okay.
Alright, Gelée, you've done me good service over the years. And by years, I mean last 2 weeks. But Peanut has now entered the chat. Oh, she's quirky. It has liquid ooze.
Liquid ooze?
Yeah, so you better be careful where you put those leech seeds.
Oh.
The liquid ooze ability poisons anyone who uses a drain move on it. Because you're draining it, but you're also draining all of the poison in its body. Why'd I do that? Alright, Peanut, let's get you, sir.
When you summit, you can ask anybody want a peanut? Let's go. Love this.
Alright, I'm gonna look at your stats real quick and see. I think you're a special attacker, but I'm not 100% sure. They are even. Attack and special attack are currently even. In that case, I'm gonna do poison jab.
I'm so tired, you guys.
I'm also very tired. It's been a rough week for me.
Yeah. I'm just tired for no reason. Well, I've been doing school stuff, so that's why I'm tired. My Tuesday class goes past my bedtime.
There, I used a sir.
No,
Actually,
Monday
I think
class.
I think I gotta fight this.
I don't have a class on Tuesday. I don't know what day it is.
Swimming alone, yeah, swimming alone, says this guy.
Alright, whatever.
Summer Alessandro.
Stayed up too late, that's why I'm tired.
Okay, whatever you say. You must have your reasons.
I'm tired forever too, Han. It's called being chronically ill. Look at the Skiddo.
Aw, Skiddo.
Eepy Skiddo. I love you, Eepy Skiddo.
Ouch. I got punched in the face.
Oop.
How rude.
Oh, hi, Miltank.
Miltank, you're slightly disturbed. That's okay.
Yeah,
But otherwise cute.
It's fine.
It's the otter.
So Penny and I played Brilliant in this same fashion, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and all of our guys were named after natural disasters.
Yep. And I am the Sinnoh champion.
Penny's the Sinnoh champion. She beat me.
I did. I'm also having real trouble with this fucking thing.
Oh man.
It's not hurting me. I'm just not hurting it either.
Mm. I'm just fire spinning everything to death.
I mean, that works.
Anyways, now we're on to Sword and Shield, or both Shield.
Yeah. You don't have to use Toxic Spikes more than once, you know, right?
It does not.
Like once it's set, you can just keep it there.
Fighting this Viper. But yeah, so Shield. We're naming our guys after classic rock bands.
Yes.
And artists. So I've got Don McLean.
Don McLean.
Not Don McLean.
He wrote American Pie.
He wrote American Pie, and so Don is my, oh god, what's it called?
Appleton.
Appleton, yeah, the pie Pokemon.
Yeah. Apple Pie.
And AC/DC, my Boltund.
Yep.
Oh, actually, I need this.
I have a. I have a Galarian Linoon named Kiss because it looks exactly like a member of Kiss.
It really does.
I have a Ninetales named Abba. I have a Vileplume named Poison that keeps wrecking Jack's entire day.
It really does.
Oh man, Peanut. I'm sorry, Peanut. That was my fault. Alright, Potato, mess it up. Poor Peanut!
Riverfroom. Yeah, Riverfroom is obviously cars.
Yep.
One of these days, naming convention needs to be Game Studios.
Yeah. Agreed.
That'd be funny. We could do that. I don't want to do that for Sun and Moon, though.
No.
We should do, like...
Do that for Scarlet and Violet.
We could do that for...
I can't hit this guy.
I don't know, I played Scarlet and Violet really recently, so I don't know if I really want to do it again.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, honestly. I have a cloister named Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
I have a... God, no tanks have HP.
I really do.
Oh yeah, you can learn those. Let's see, who else do I have? I have a
dances. I don't know if there's enough types of dances that I know. Go to sleep. No, stop rolling out. Go to sleep. Fucking Miltank.
Everyone from Gen 2 feels your pain.
Why is Miltank like this?
I don't know. Body slam. You shouldn't be able to hit with that.
I am a rock.
You're part ghost. Also, you're not a rock. You're ground.
I am a rock.
But you're part. You can't hit Miltank with Shadow Punch.
Yeah, I realized that after I pressed the button. I remembered after I pressed the button. Alright, you know what? I will also roll out.
Roll out fight.
we'll see who rolls out the best. It's gonna be Miltank.
It's me.
It's Miltank.
It is Miltank. Well,
Oh
Miltank
my
got
God.
a turn advantage on you. Listen, everyone who's ever had to fight Whitney feels your pain. So we're about to...
Are there any duo Pokemon, like Dugduo?
Doduo.
Or Doduo? Yeah, Doduo. But then it turns into Dodrio.
It does turn into Dodrio. Doublade.
Doublade.
Doublade turns into... not Doublade.
Kangaskhan!
Kangaskhan, yeah, especially Mega Kangaskhan.
Man, we were watching the...
Oh,
we've been
cool.
watching the...
I'm riding a Go-Go.
Oh, cool. We've been watching the Pokemon anime. And, Dodrio can be Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Honda Whip Dream.
Oh, how did you get...
Are you getting wiped out by that Miltank?
I'm getting wiped out by this fucking Miltank.
Wow. That is a strong Miltank.
This Miltank is kicking my ass.
And it's a trainer battle, yeah?
Yeah.
Damn. I just stole this person's fucking Go-Go. Ooh, a shiny stone.
Yeah.
I don't think I, like,
please.
actively need that for anything.
Okay, thank God. It's fucking dead.
Oh, good. It didn't, like, white you out.
That's a strong fucking Miltank. Ooh.
Mirepoix! That's a good reward.
Yeah.
I got a TM45 Attract.
Yay! Now he's got a palm tree on his back.
Yeah. Oh no, a Miltank!
Waller? Petal dance.
I do want to cut the tree.
Cut the tree. I have
Tons
to-
of leftovers.
I have to go back.
For the leftovers.
Ooh, leftovers.
Leftovers is an awesome item.
I love that my sword Pokemon has cut.
Yeah. Chestnut's pretty tanky. He can have the leftovers. I think this is the lady that almost killed you, so... Oh, there's a Go-Go theme.
So cute.
Wop, 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 wop.
Whip tree.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Come on, go. I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
Really.
Good time, having a good time. Go that way.
I like riding the go-go.
Oh no, I got glared at.
Alright, let's put go-go
I've been
back.
bitten for 3 damage. And then I killed the Survivor in 1 hit.
These go-go are very good boys if they can just get out of their enclosure at any time.
Yeah. Well, they've kind of got like a secondary enclosure. Okay, here we go against this fucking Miltank. see how this goes.
Good luck. Or maybe I'm just a terrible Pokemon trainer, and we'll find out.
Oh shit, it has Zen Headbutt.
Oh my god.
It killed Peanut in one hit.
Oh my god. That's insane.
Yep.
They can't escape, but they choose not to. Because they're good boys.
Fighting its time, which gives me an opportunity to spam sleep powder. Luckily, it worked on the first try, but like... Do they sell TMs there?
I don't know.
They do.
Yeah.
Oh, I already bought some.
Guess I already bought Dig.
Yep. Well, thanks to a lucky sleep powder, I was able, and by lucky I mean not lucky at all, because Butterfree has compound eyes, so it has 100 accuracy.
Yeah.
Due to sleep powder, I was able to bring it down in 3 hits.
Nice.
No, I don't want rage powder. Everyone gets points due to the EXP share.
Yay!
Except the one person I needed to get XP.
Because they're dead.
Because they died. Thanks, Miltank. You bitch. You fucking cow.
Yep.
That's not an insult. She's literally a cow.
It's literally a cow.
Also, I would never insult somebody by calling them a cow.
No, cows are great.
Beautiful creatures.
Cows are fantastic.
Yeah.
We love cows.
We love cows. It's not my fault they're delicious.
Oh, hi, Tentacle.
You're gonna be seeing a lot more of them. I have one Pokemon in an Ultra Ball and it's bugging me.
Yeah. Understandable.
But it's, you know.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
No.
It's asparagus.
I have Miltank related PTSD now.
You and everyone else who played Gen 2. Listen, Whitney's Miltank ended so many runs. For doing exactly what that Miltank did and just rolling out all over and not dying.
Mm-hmm. Cows watch sunsets.
Yeah. So do I, but you don't hear me bragging about it.
It's so cute.
Yanma, my beloved.
His little mouth.
Mm-hmm. He's like, bap, bap, bap. Also, he's fast.
He is fast. Oh, we're fighting the same kid.
Mm-hmm.
Gen 2 PTSD is legit. I don't think I ever played Gen 2.
We gotta play Gen 2 next time. Well, after Sword and Shield, I guess. Well, not Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon.
Yeah, because we're gonna do Sun and Moon.
We're gonna
after
do
this.
the Gen 2 remakes on the DS. Look, you can speed boost as much as you want. You're still double weak to rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been confused. How rude of you.
And how?
Hey. Hey, no. Come on, Potato. Fight through it.
Potato.
You got this, boy. You got this, boy. You got this.
Go, Potato.
You got
go.
this, dude. Go, Potato. Ah, no, don't hit your... I said hit them, don't hit yourself in the face, okay? Look, Potato, I know that you're confused right now, but this detect spamming son of a bitch deserves to get hit in the face with 2 to 5 rocks.
2 to 5 rocks.
Well, I don't know how many hits it's gonna do. I only needed 1. Yay, Potato! Yay, Peanut! Eat that. What if the Rock Blast move just kept going? What if it's like I haven't used up all my rocks yet? I'm gonna keep shooting rocks. Spamming son of a bitch!
I need to keep cut so I can't learn slash.
Hip! Hip! Hip!
I literally don't care if Love Disc learns any kind of move. What is wrong with my mouth today? It's not working.
Hip!
Hip.
Hip!
Hip. My mouth fucking sucks.
That's your mouth right now. It's like hip!
Yeah, really.
Rock Blast!
Freudian slip and slide.
I need to find an actual, like, definition for that.
Freudian slip and slide?
Yeah. Yay, Peanut's level 27! Yay, Justin's level 35! Justin wants to learn Seed Bomb, but you can learn Seed Bomb. 5 power is Needle Arm, it's 60 power. This is 80 power. You can learn Seed Bomb, forget Needle Arm.
80 power. Is this many?
Is 80 power, and learn Seed Bomb. There you go. Learn Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb.
It's where something weird comes out of your mouth and you try to correct and just keep the weird going. You had a good slip and slide joke at D&D the other day.
Zangoose. I like Zangoose. They're cute. They're grumpy. Look how grumpy.
You're moving at the same pace today.
Yeah. No, don't kill me! God damn it. Damn it, Zangoose.
You really gotta kill it. You really gotta kill it, because otherwise it's gonna kill you.
Look how cute it is, though.
Oh no.
Well, here we go. Same shit. Except Asparagus is tough enough to tough it out. Wang.
Well, I was already half health.
Yeah, no, I figured. Poor Peanut just keeps getting killed.
Hey, you can't withdraw your Pokemon. You can't do that. You're an NPC.
Yeah, sometimes they do that.
What? You're not allowed to do that.
Or Shooketh.
You can't do that.
Alright, Asparagus. Dragon Claw his ass. Joke's on you, you're faster than me.
Tauros is
normal.
Normal?
Normal, just normal.
Just normal.
I say just normal like he isn't one of the strongest Pokemon from Gen 1.
Our rogue put down grease in a hallway and the druid set it on fire. Slip and slide references were made, so I started singing the theme song. Run, you dive, you take a chance, you burn alive.
Hey, it rhymes.
That's good. good against normal?
Fighting. That's all.
I don't have any of that.
True, you don't.
Oh. I'm dead.
He's still faster than me. I've lowered his speed 2 stages. Oh my god, Potato. Oh my god, Potato, you're such a good boy.
Let's go, Potato!
You are now immune to his normal type attacks, but he's using payback, so it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I made it to Comarine. Oh, it's, Caleb. Challenge you to a battle in front of the gym. You better be ready. I'm not ready.
Come on,
My
Papa.
jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
I need to heal my jellyfish. And my little dragon.
I want to heal my jellyfish.
I want to heal that guy. Where is it?
It used rest. I was about to put it to sleep myself.
Where's it?
It's like it's cheating. It's a cheating cheater. Cheating cheater.
Oh, I got a good run.
It knew I was gonna put it to sleep, so it slept itself. Cheating.
Yeah. Where's the Pokemon Center?
Neurodivergent, also good versus normal.
There are 2 kinds of people in the world. Normal and neurotypical.
Uh-huh. Yup. Yup.
So many hotels.
It's a goose.
I don't remember where to find Cliff.
Is it for quest?
No, I just walked.
Oh.
Why is really mega evolution in the Kalos region is still so much we don't know? Does this make you think something like Kalos legendary Pokemon found here only in the Kalos region, right? Nowhere else, maybe that's not a coincidence. Oh, what an excellent point indeed. My research. The excitement never ends, does it? Oh, that's right, I came here to give you this. I got HMO to fly.
To fly.
Use the HM fly to pop right over to Pokemon Center, a place you already visited. Well then, Penny. Dantha, I hope to see you both again soon.
Where's the Pokemon Center in this?
I think you have to take the monorail. Bonds, they really are important to us all, aren't they? When I'm acting, I think I'm always trying to forge a bond between myself and the character playing. If all I think about is I'm not like character, I'll just say playing it, but focusing on what I have in common with the character for myself and her issues, I might be able to understand her. It's safe for people of Pokemon. Oh, never mind me, I'm just babbling about my own things. Let's have a battle next time we meet, shall we? I'm still looking forward to it. There's nothing in the trash.
I don't think I can learn fly either.
You can try to fly.
I think I have a flying type.
So there are some non-flying types that can learn to fly.
If my sword can learn fly, I
don't think your sword can learn
That would be so fucking funny.
I'm still in Comarine. Yeah, you gotta take
Nope.
the monorail to the other side. Nope. Well, fly isn't required, so... I don't think any of my dudes can learn fly yet either. Charizard can fly. Charizard.
Why did I need to talk to the person at the desk to ride the monorail?
Hey, hot dog suit. Nice.
Hey, hot dog suit.
Pressing buttons.
I don't have a Discord. It's just Black Discord.
I don't have it.
Sprinkle can probably learn fly.
Sprinkle learn fly? No.
No.
Sprinkle is not big enough to carry you. I'm gonna save my game.
That's a good idea.
And then I'm gonna take a quick look at the interbutt just to see where I might be able to find Lefty. That's right, Route 15, 16, and the Lost Hotel. Now I remember. I look this up every single time. On map. I gotta go north out of Lumios.
Do I know anything about the Mega Evolve right now? Oh, I think I can Mega Evolve Venusaur.
You can, yeah. You just have to give it Venusaurite.
Yeah, did I give it Venusaurite or not? Is the question. Because I knew I would forget if I didn't do it immediately. So maybe I did.
Hello, Caleb.
Caleb.
Caleb. I can't use Mega Evolution yet. My little guy isn't high enough level.
I don't have the energy for more Discords, I don't think, Cam. I can barely keep up with the ones that I can barely keep up with the ones that I already have. Kenj, Dan, and I are starting MSN too.
Time to get payback. It's super effective. Light beam. Side beam.
It's a good idea.
Oh, I just noticed that they have a different gender Meowstick.
Hmm?
Our rivals have a different gender Meowstick. They have a Meowstick that matches their gender.
That's cool. Like a sad,
Sad
party
horn.
blower.
Sad horn noises.
Sad horn noises.
Rikes and
Chuckles darkly be like.
yeah. You chuckle start.
It's really fun.
It's really fun. Come on, Peanut, hold in there. Hang in there. You got this, baby. Okay, you didn't do shit. Okay. Never mind. You're too low level right now.
Two baby.
You're currently too baby. Flambe. Flambe. Do it.
I don't have.
Nope, you do not.
Sorry, Serena. I'll show you Mega Evolution another time.
Shadowed Claw. Oh, you're not Psychic type yet? Ah, I'm in fire. I'm in fuego. Dragon Rage then. It's special attack, Dragon Rage. It's special attack. I'm really tired, guys. I'm sorry.
Nah, this is funny. This is a good bit.
We're watching a lot of the Pokemon anime, and it's really stupid.
Yeah, it's really stupid. But also, I feel like I like the way that they do the Pokemon moves a lot.
Yeah. No, it's good, but it's really dumb. Spurgus. Spurgus. Oh, I should have gone with butter, but whatever, Spurgus. It's Spurgus time.
What is Absol?
Dark.
Just straight dark.
Just straight up dark. You want fighting or bug? Or fairy? Doesn't Julianne have Fury Cutter?
It does.
Oh, but it's ghost type. Oh. You're also ghost type, so you're gonna fuck around by bite. Come on, Aspurgus.
But Pestle just got Dynamic Punch.
Ah. Come on,
Pestle is
hang in
also
there.
ghost type.
Yeah. Right? Train's
Try.
fast, at least.
Meringue is fast.
Oh no, Butter! Fuck him up, Butter.
Oh, well, it has a quick attack against Meringue. That's good. And now it's paralyzed.
Asparagus grew to level 32, yay!
I love Pikachu so much.
Yeah, Asparagus can learn Dragon Dance. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross.
I just got very emotional about how cute Pikachu is.
I love Pikachu.
She's so cute. No!
Pika. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Crisscross.
No! Absol's kicking my ass.
Absol's really strong.
And it's like supposed to be paralyzed.
Paralyzed Absol, still too fast.
Paralyzed Absol is not fucking paralyzed. Alright, there it goes.
We got a twitchy ass paralyzed Talo.
What gym is this?
The gym.
The gym.
It's the gym of gyms. I don't know. I don't know what gym it is.
What gym it is? What could be so different about us? I don't know, I love my Pokemon. Do you love your Pokemon? Serena loves her Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wanna be the very best, if no one ever was.
I'm buying a bunch of hyper potions so that everybody doesn't fucking die anymore. Also revives.
I remember that lyric.
You weren't paying attention.
Oh, I guess you're right.
30 episodes we watched in the last 2 days.
We've really just been binging it. We've been binging it while playing Pokemon, and it's such a vibe.
Pokemaxing.
Oh, it's this one.
It's a grass gym. How about the bout, little sprout? Old man Ramos's gym is all about grass.
Grass. Your ass is grass.
My ass is not grass.
Oh, what I heard.
My ass is ass.
My throat hurts. Probably from that Ash Ketchum voice I kept doing.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Lots of the jab.
I don't know how voice actors do that.
Lots of practice and warming up. They warm up first.
Oh, they just don't, like, raw dog it like an idiot?
Yeah. They don't raw dog it like an idiot. Oh no! I got crit! Oh no! Peanut! Oh, Peanut!
I regret the words that come out of my mouth.
Somebody clip that.
No! Don't clip that.
Quick, somebody clip that.
It'll already be saved in the VOD forever. This is why you shouldn't stream when you're tired.
I should really not have. I should really not have Peanut in the front right now. He's just because she's too low level.
No, I said probably not.
Oh, I thought you said why not. I'm like, why do you think? She's too low level. She keeps getting killed and thus not getting any XP.
Paralyzed. I do have a paralyzed heal. Good.
Da, 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 da.
Because it seems to affect me more than NPCs.
Oh, it absolutely does. It's 100% weighted not in your favor.
Why do Pokemon games cheat?
Because they hate you specifically.
Oh.
Alright, well, Flambe is already higher level than everybody else, but it's, he's just gonna get stronger. Because it's the grass gym, and what am I supposed to do? Not use my fire type?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cooked it!
No!
Thank you, Ham. I am encouraging your, mischief. I'm a bad influence.
I definitely won't post that on my YouTube channel later.
Yeah, definitely won't.
Definitely won't. Don't keep an eye out for it. Listen, anything to get the viewers.
YouTube short title, Jack raw dogs it like an idiot.
No! Fucking terrible. I hate that. I hate it so much.
Me too. My Pokemon will share in the joy of defeating you. Yeah, whatever. I got Charmeleon.
I don't like. As an ace person, I don't like the sexual jokes aimed at me. Make me uncomfy.
As your sister, I don't like the sexual jokes aimed at you.
You said it!
But sometimes you just gotta be committed to the bit.
No! Madam.
We're madam, I'm madam.
We're madam. With her fancy coat.
I like
As an outside observer, I'm fine with them, thanks. Thanks for your input, Ham.
Really get some kind of move up, fire move other than fire spin.
I would love to.
I've got flame burst, and that's working out for me.
Good for you.
I'm level 36 now.
Yay! Let's go!
Flambe, I love you!
JK, I hate it. Disgusting. Oh wait, am I still your sibling? JK, I hate it. Disgusting.
Yay, Flambe! Blah, blah, blah. Ba-da-da-da-da, Charles Zard.
And then Ham is back to gambling.
Charles Zard.
Ham loves to gamble. Ham has a gambling
Hamble.
addiction. Hamble. Ham gambling.
Wing attack, huh? We can do better than that, Flambe. Chestnut 2!
Yay!
I now have a fighting type.
A fighting time.
Because he gets fighting when he evolves.
Oh, nice.
No, he's grass fighting. He also gets
Ham's hobby is gambling. You've given Mo a gambling addiction.
A lot of people don't like Chestnut, but I do. I think Chestnut.
Oh, he looks cool.
I think he's cool, and I think he's a cutie, and I think that if you don't like him...
He has a good balance of cute and cool in his design, I think.
I think if you don't like him, then you could fuck off!
Yeah.
I like the big shoulders he gets when he Mega Evolves.
Yeah.
Alright, time to teach Fly to my dragon.
My number 1 hobby is sleeping, but number 2 is gambling. Number 3 is doxing.
You're really more of a special attacker than a physical attacker. Do I want to give him Fly?
Executive?
I do. Only in Alola.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, he's Grass Psychic. She's Grass Psychic. I wonder where the move deleter in this game is. Well, whatever. I need Fly anyway. His physical attack's not bad. It's just not as good as his special.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll give him a flying type special attack anyway and just have 3 attack slots, you know? Yes, here we go. Pokemon Ranger Twiggy.
Well, number 3 is cross stitch, but number 4 is doxing. Ham has a lot of hobbies.
You could Mega Evolve in every fight, so why the hell wouldn't I?
Hey!
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 Like, you can Mega Evolve once per fight, so, like, why wouldn't I just Mega Evolve in every fight, you know? Mega Charizard Y's not bad. It's just not as good as Mega Man? Mega Charizard X.
A witch!
The witch.
Yay, mystical fire!
Place Fire Spin.
No, I want to keep fire spin. Because fire spin keeps working.
Okay. But now you have Mystical Fire, so, like...
Mystical fire doesn't keep...
I guess it keeps people from swapping out, so...
Yeah.
Yay, Butter's level 36. Butter wants to learn the move Safeguard. No. No safeguarding for you. I defeated Pokemon Ranger Twiggy. With the power of Mega Evolution. I'm vine swinging. I'm vine swinging.
Oh, I need to.
I'm vine swinging, and I'm going back down. Oh wait, I gotta go back. Oh, no, I don't need to go back down. I can just hyper. You need to give the Venusaur to Venusaur.
Oh, it's for Alclene.
Yeah. Did you enjoy this garden playground to me with all these sturdy plants of mine? Their strength is a sign of my strength. As a gardener and a gym leader, you sure you're up to facing all that?
Sorry, I'll be there soon.
Yeah, I need my fucking cool gym leader thing. Oh, jump off!
Aww, cutie.
Look at his face!
Alright, here we go.
Oh, I'm so much.
Just giant scissors. Here we go. Sorry, Jump Love. Oh, that's right. You have a new niece. I'm too scattered with ideas, so nothing is getting made.
Asparagus. Weeping Bell. Not even Victory Bell, just Weeping Bell. Man.
A quilt is good.
Oh, I beat him. Cool.
I would love to be able to quilt. I need to live a quilt.
I got the plant badge!
Yeah!
Use HM Fly even when you're not battling. And I got the TM86 Grass Knot.
Nice.
Now I can leave. Never come back.
That is such a mood. Oh no, I am heavy. Oh, but I'm not that heavy. Haha!
No, you're actually pretty light.
Well,
Only one sword.
I'm made of steel.
Yeah, but you're only one sword.
So I thought I was strong against grass.
It is, but it's neutralized by poison. Alrighty. Now you're also done.
Yeah. Time for you to
Yeah,
do my ass
Meyer
again.
Boix. Alright, let's find a nice scenic place to do our battle.
Yeah.
How about over here, overlooking this cliff?
That sounds good. Now go down the slide.
Oof. Hi, Annie Morte.
What's up, Animort?
Sleepy. Gotta keep myself awake. Quick, pour boiling water on my head.
No.
Do it, coward.
What about ice water?
No,
No.
that's too cold.
Make the thing here.
Yeah, there is. It's a sky plate. We exist in different universes, but we're still rivals.
Alright.
Boot up, yo. Oh, restricted.
Mm-hmm.
I do want a battle with no restriction.
Just tell Black I said hi after the raid. Will be napping probably. It's a sleepy day today. I think everyone's a little sleepy today.
Everyone's a little sleepy. Sleep, little guy. Need to sleep.
Need to sleep.
The missile is tired. The missile is eepy. The missile is a sleepy little guy and needs to take a nap.
Battle start.
Battle contest.
Cool. Goes on for an uncomfortably long time.
Yeah. I was like, when did you get a Charizard? But no, that's my Charizard.
You got night
On your
shift.
screen.
That would make you sleepy.
I'm not sure what your plan here is.
I thought you were also going to swap out.
No, I was going to use Shadow Claw. And Mega Evolve. And now it's dry. The rock.
Yeah, you have done.
Yeah, double super effective. I don't have Dark, I have Ghost.
Well, that's
And I have powered up fire moves because it's sunlight.
yeah.
Rock resists fire, but ground doesn't.
This may still be nice.
I'm a Mega Dragon. Charizard is not Dragon type.
I liked that humming tone hit an ASMR note. Is that a moth power? Yeah, moth power.
Yeah, that's one of the many moth powers that I have. I'm still
So
flying
with
type.
the upcoming all battle F2P Pokemon
Free to
game.
play Pokemon game that was supposed to support all generations of Pokemon. I don't know. Probably the same way that like Pokemon Showdown does it, where they just allow it.
What
They're
is
just-
the free to play Pokemon game?
There's a free-to-play Pokemon battle game where you can import your Pokemon from different generations and battle with all the gimmicks.
That's cool.
Aw, my sunlight. Mega Charizard Y is fast as fuck.
So fast.
That's like the main thing it gets is, besides, Drought, which is an amazing ability. It mainly gets being fast as fuck, boy. I would like to not be here while you do that. You go to the ground now. Oh, right. It's not very nice. Fuck! I've been Pikachu'd. Flame Burst. Biga, biga. Just Meyer Poikes left. I know what I'm gonna do to them. Same thing I've done to everybody else. Flame Burst. Now you got a flower on your head. Hips! Oh my god, you tanked it. I got a crit and you tanked it. Wow, okay. Thank you, motherfucker. Now you're locked into doing that for turns.
Yep. No.
I saved you from getting confused.
Let's put you to sleep.
I'm sure you did.
And the stick flicked backwards.
Oof. That's rough, buddy.
Now it says 5.
Well, it's 5 remaining Pokemon to 0. Remaining Pokemon.
Oh, I thought it was how many times you've won.
No, it's number of Pokemon remaining.
We can never be friends.
I'm sorry.
No, because the game won't. It'll break.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway.
You thought I was being serious.
No, of course I didn't. I was committing to the bit.
I was yelling about.
I think we need to keep it down.
Oh, is that what she said?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think maybe she was talking to Rowan about taking the cat stuff out. I got a hollow clip. Oh, it's this guy.
It's Lysander.
Who's committing to the bit wipes away tear at the corner of her eye.
Hey, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Oh my god, we were both crying.
Right?
What Pokemon was it?
Butterfree.
Butterfree.
We were both bawling like little babies when Ash had to let his Butterfree go.
Yeah. Ash, like, let his Butterfree go off and you know, to go breed with another Butterfree. And oh god, it was so sad! Ash didn't have to do shit. Well, but
Go to
he
take some
did because
to power up your Pokédex again.
his Butterfree wanted to go. And you know, he could have caught that shiny Butterfree.
No, the Butterfree need to fly across the ocean to go to their spawning grounds.
Yeah.
Listen, if Butterfree doesn't get to go, then Butterfree doesn't get to fuck, and what kind of cool trainer would keep their Pokemon from doing that?
Yeah. He also didn't have to give a shit about what Butterfree wanted. Wow, what an asshole.
Listen, he visits the Butterfree in the last episode, and the Butterfree has like a whole Trapinch. The Butterfree has like a whole bunch of babies. Sorry, I saw Trapinch and I got really excited.
Yeah, a smooth rock.
Smooth rock.
Smooth rock.
Smooth Rocco. Oh no, Peanut! God damn it! Peanut keeps fucking dying!
Oh no.
I'm like, oh yeah, I could take down a Trapinch. I bet I could take it in one hit.
I love when
almost
it
killed it in one hit.
zooms in on Trapinch and all you can see is mouth.
I almost beat it in one hit, and then it did bulldoze and fucking killed me. Just straight up killed me. Just straight up killed me in one hit. I'm gonna fly back to town.
I got revenge for you. I killed a Trapinch in one hit.
Show off. I'm kidding, of course.
I'm
not upset.
For
Like,
you, I
legitimately.
revenge.
Oh, good, thank you.
I avenge your
I don't need revenge.
Pokemon.
I need Peanut to not die in one hit. Please.
plate.
I need Peanut to get some XP so that she can become Big Jelly.
Yeah, Big Jelly.
It is level based and not like a stone evolution, right?
I don't know.
Alright, well, back to the internet.
I don't know where I'm going, honestly.
It is, it's level 30. So close.
Oh, wait, there's a thing over there.
He's so close to becoming strong and not weak.
God, do I not have... strength... We don't have... Break Rock yet.
You don't have Rock Smash?
We don't have Rock Smash.
Huh. That's...
It's usually like the first one you get.
yeah.
That's weird.
Also, it's not an HM in this game. It's just a TM.
Well, yeah, because everything's a TM.
Well, no, they're still HMs. What? What do you mean? You avoided it. It's fucking Surf. Peanut, please, just knock out
It's so easy to
someone.
max out Mon in the newest game. It used to be like a 40 hour time sink for one Mon. You didn't get EXP share until the end. Young whippersnappers don't know how easy they got it.
Yeah, old man yells at clouds.
Deadass just found two more projects to make for the babies. You guys are supposed to be working.
The baby.
Old man yells at Cloud. I napped for a couple hours. Once morning stand-up was over, I deserved it. We're all supposed to be working. Yeah, I stream in working hours, and you guys show up, so, you know.
Trapinch.
Okay.
Oh! Trio. Trio. Those Diglets are so freaking cute.
I'm gonna kill him.
He sucker punched you. Oh, it's Team Flare.
Oh, you found him.
I did, I found them. They were to the left.
Yeah.
Down and to the left.
I'll find the...
Alright, Peanut. Mess him up.
There's the path.
Ow. Not very effective, but what? I flinched! God damn it.
Oh no.
Peanut! Please. You're so close to being good. Just level up like one more time. Look, I need fully evolved Pokemon at this point in the game.
Yeah.
I just can't, like, compete. You know?
Your job is chill. My staff meeting's at 11. Yeah, you're supposed to be background noise while I work away. Well, we're just too entertaining. You have to join the conversation. After the math, last month, I feel not even a little lazy for taking a 2-hour nap when there's a point in the workload.
Listen, her special attack is great. Peanut's special attack or special defense is amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Her physical defense is not great. Her speed is not great. Her special attack is not great. But that all changes when she becomes Tentacruel. And suddenly her special defense is fucking 120. And the rest of her stats are actually good. Like, not bad at all. 80 special attack, 100 speed. Like, pretty dang good. Tentacruel is great. Tentacruel sucks butts. But that's okay, because I love my Pokemon, even if they suck butt. I sound like a mildly homophobic parent trying to support their gay kid.
Why would you say that?
Now, I'll stylishly run away. Huh? Where's my power plant pass? I'll make a stylish deduction.
He's...
Oh.
Oh, I hear my cat. I hear her yelling at the door.
9.
You go.
Sure, I could find it easily if I had a dowsing machine. I do have a dowsing machine, I just didn't want to use it. I want to, like, go in and get my fucking dowsing machine.
You immediately started arguing with yourself. How dare I say something logical?
I found it! Ha 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 ha, I can get into the power plant now. You suck ass. Team Flare guy. How do I put this thing away? I used the power plant pass so I can get into the power plant!
Yay!
Now I have a power plan. And that power plan is to go back to save. Actually, no, it isn't. I'm just gonna use it. I don't want to fly back to save right now. Now it's power plant. Now we can finally fix the friggin' blackout.
Yay!
Knock knock, who's there? Knock knock, who are you? You who? Knock knock, knock 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 knock, me who? You too? Seriously, who are you? Are you having a stroke? Team Flare Grunt?
Are you having a stroke? Because I'm pretty sure that's not what he said.
That was exactly what he said.
Oh my god.
This time, I'm not making shit up. That's exactly what he said.
I'm surprised.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh no, I'm gonna die again.
Get wrecked, go back.
Ah!
You need
Peanut.
to swap out Peanut instead of letting her
I want her to be good!
She's not yet!
I know, but I want her to be good so bad.
But she's not gonna be good if you keep letting her die.
I know! I'm sorry, Peanut. I love you. I should have revived her before killing that Scraggy. Asparagus, go. You don't need Avalanche, you're a special attacker. Guess you're not really using Icy Wind anyway. There, now Peanut can get some XP.
Good.
Hip! Says Krogon. Oh yeah? Well, what if I slide to the left? Slide to the right. Crisscross. Dragon Dance. And Dragon Claw. Dragon moves may only be super effective against other dragons, but they are reliable.
Mm-hmm.
The only things they're not super effective against are Fairy and Steel. Or sorry, they're not neutral against, other than Dragon, are Fairy and Steel. So, like, just stand right in front. Nope. Other side of the front of the rock. The front left side of the rock. Stand in front of it, stare at it. There it is.
There it is. I knew it was on that rock somewhere.
Drink this super potion. As they fucking wreck a construction site.
Yeah. They're so cute.
What do you mean you're in rescue? You're just a kid. Yeah, but I'm a kid with strong-ass Pokemon.
I'm a kid with a cute outfit, bitch.
Space, photovoltaic power generation. Can't believe the state-of-the-art technology has fallen into the hands of a bunch of villains. That's my scientist voice. What's fresh water? Usually go for 200, but for you, I'll sell them for 300.
Damn. Bitch.
I tried to hide it here, but I got stuck. Ooh, what's that plate?
Which door do I go in from?
From the door that he was standing in front of.
Oh, back is it?
You could probably go that way too.
No, I don't think I can.
Yeah, that's probably the way out. Be like, you don't have the right pass.
Yeah.
You trying to play us for a little kid?
Yes.
That's her voice. That's what she sounds like. She sounds like this.
She spoke to back a day since she was 9.
That's why I'm in Team Flare. They always have lighters. Asparagus. Asparagus.
Get bitch slapped, Doug Trio.
Time to Dragon Dance again. Time to slide to the left.
No! I hate when you get out of a battle and then you take one step.
So I should slide to the right instead of sliding to the left. Clearly you had objections about the previous.
I don't care which direction you slide.
Crisscross! A Gibble!
At least
I love him!
At least it's a cutie.
I love Gibble so much.
Hi Gibble.
He's
Hi
like-
Gibble.
Hip away.
Where's the fucking path? There
No,
it
I
is.
don't need you. Water's level 37. Oh, bad, huh? I'll keep battling.
Trapinch's final evolution is cool.
Yeah, it's Flygon.
Ah,
Trapinch turns into Flygon.
neat.
Like I've said it before, but I'm pretty sure Flygon and Salamence's names got swapped.
Really?
Because Salamence evolves from Bagon and Shelgon.
Huh.
So Bagon, Shelgon, Flygon.
Interesting.
Peanut is evolving. Bum 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 ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum 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 ba wasn't done yet. Now she's cool.
Yeah, but it was just reminding me of the... Yeah.
2, 3, 4.
Yeah, exactly. I need to play...
Yeah, those guys.
I need to play that again.
Yeah. On stream.
Yeah.
I love you, Tentacruel. Oh, there's lots of Zappy shit around.
I need to play more rhythm games with Jack.
Hey, you do. I've been challenged by Team Flaregrunt with a Might Yeena. Yeens. Be strong now.
Poison. Fighting.
Your best bet is Psychic.
Or fighting.
Why would fighting be good?
Because it's fighting type.
Fighting is resistant to fighting.
No, it's not. Fighting is super effective against fighting.
No, it is not. You're thinking of Ghost. There are only 2 types in the game that are super effective against themselves, and that's Ghost and Dragon.
I've been using fighting types against fighting types this entire time, and it always says super effective.
What was their other type?
I don't know!
Were you fighting Scrafties?
No. Like when I fought Lucario.
Lucario's Steel type. Fighting Steel. Fighting is good against Steel. Okay, fighting doesn't actually neutralize fighting, it just is neutral. Scrafty is fighting Dark, so Dark typing is weak against fighting.
I don't like this game. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it any less.
Fighting is good against a bunch of types, but fighting is not one of them. Poison is weak to both poison and fighting are weak to psychic. No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Oh, Peanut's not dying in one hit. In fact, she's wrecking everybody.
Let's fucking go, Peanut!
All she needed to do was evolve, and now she's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, you know, we saw what happens when you mess with Tentacle.
Yeah.
Your amusement park gets destroyed.
Yeah. You get wrecked. Rectangle.
They're like fighting Torch.
I like Scrafty. He's cute.
He is cute.
Also, Scraggy looks like, I like Scraggy. Scrafty looks like a mean lesbian, and I like that.
Yeah.
Mega Scrafty especially looks like a mean lesbian. Had a female Scrafty in Legend ZA. Oh man, I punched myself. In Legend ZA, and I named her Lizzie. And she looks like a mean lesbian, and I love her.
The loose skin pants weird me out. Yeah, a little bit.
I like that because they have to hold up their weird skin pants all the time. All of their fighting animations are either kicks or headbutts.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a very, like, dirty fighting kind of attacking style.
Yeah.
I need to heal again. That's not what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do. I'm a fighter guy too. Aren't these sunglasses the coolest? I bet you're jealous. You can't have them. circumcised, the scraggy.
Cat. Cat never changes.
War never changes. The opening to a fucking Fallout game. Chat never changes. It's all Dan. Oh, Dan.
It is not all Dan. This time it is Dan. But it is not all Dan.
Rock blast and potato. One more time. One more time, potato. One more time. No, that was not what I wanted. One more time. Potato! Yeah! Good boy, potato. He snapped out of his confusion.
You're right, Ham. This time it is Dan. But also most times. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you don't also join in. Because you do. A lot of the time.
My Yeena.
My Yeena.
Yeens. Does anyone have fighting moves? I know Chestnut is fighting type, but he doesn't have fighting moves.
I'm pure class for sure. Sure, Ham. Shurum. Who's Shurum?
The spiky shielding.
Spiky shield. Oh,
A missile. Do it again.
I've been roared
One more
away.
time. Yeah, good boy. Hit him with rocks. You did it.
And just said skin man.
Just running around kicking everybody's butts. Get them right in their butts. F to the L to the A to the R to the E to F-L-A-R-E. We bring it, you know it.
I won't move from the spot even an inch. Okay, I'll go the other direction.
Wow it.
Wow.
Well, it's like...
I don't think our models can make that face.
They cannot. I have no idea what face our models were making.
I have to wait for it to catch up.
Yeah.
It's
just a frown.
It's just a very small mouth.
Little ooh face.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been toxic. I'm slipping under. Now it's a poison potato.
I think that's worse than if you just said the actual word. You know?
Yep.
Yep, that's worse.
Get wrecked, swallow it. Hoping that I would kill it, but I didn't kill it.
I hate this conversation that chat is having.
None of you are free from sin. I'm tired. Antidote. Save my poor poisoned potato.
Oh no, a poisoned potato. See ya, Ham.
Bye, Ham. Bye, Ham. You can't inflict serious pain on my Pokemon. My Pokemon are too strong for you.
Blackwood. Hello.
Hello, Black.
Hello, Blackwood. I pre-ordered Tomodachi Life yesterday. I'm so excited.
I'm gonna kill this cat. It's a lifer.
You're
not
gonna
a real
kill the cat?
Yeah.
You make a de breakfast? I want a breakfast. I want a breakfast. I had a granola bar today, and that's it.
I can't use the same move twice in a row due to torment. I'll wrap it up.
I had a quick granola bar.
Alright, y'all, wrap it up.
I had a quick granola bar before stream because I woke up at 8:30 instead of 8 because my alarm did not go off because my phone died because the charger is unreliable. The charging port is kind of broken. What's the release date on the new Tomodachi Life? It is April 16th, I think.
I have no idea.
Yes, April, because it said 4/16, so yeah. April 16th. And I'm so excited. Oh yeah, also guys, really fun thing happened. Yesterday was my 4th streamiversary.
Yay, streamiversary.
Yeah, the channel turns 4 years old.
Wow, really been that long?
Yeah.
Nice. We've got a small but dedicated audience.
We do now.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you, Hot Dog Suit.
Yay, Butter's level 38.
Yay, Butter! Please kill this guy. Okay, thank you. I didn't heal before fighting this team Flame Grunt player. I wanted to say Team Yell, but that's wrong.
Please hold one moment while my face is incorrect. My face goes away.
Important stuff?
Yep.
Started to autocomplete 4th birthday and I got worried for a split second. It was the 4th birthday. The 4th birthday of the channel.
Yeah.
Not that important. Oh, is Keisha texting you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's important.
It is important. Look, it's important stuff, okay?
Nothing big, just me going, urgent care queen!
Yeah, there's some stuff happening.
Are you doing okay, Keisha? You don't have to go into what happened if you don't want to.
But... Yeah. Let's just say I have concerns.
Oh no.
Ugh, I've been high jump kicked. It didn't do anything to me.
I'm okay. Good.
We're just, making sure.
See, 4th birthday of the channel. That's cool. 4-year-old streaming us. Sorry, I got a pizza. I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Super valid.
Especially the way you talk.
Yeah.
If I was 4, there would be a problem.
Yeah, the problem would be you are too young.
Yeah.
Take that, light bird. Yay, Asparagus is level 35!
I wanted to do
Asparagus evolves.
some kind of thing for the 4th anniversary, but I only realized it was 4th anniversary yesterday, so I missed it. Whoops. And then there was a bunch of stuff that happened in our personal life, and it didn't feel like quite the time to celebrate.
Yep. I'm a slow
You don't want to watch another Paw Patrol stream?
See, we already have enough energy to power the device. Good. Let's finish up your move. There's still more work to be done. What other work do you mean? How'd you mean taking out that annoying little Pokemon trainer over there? What's this? I didn't think anybody would reign here after we dealt with the workers. Team Flare admin.
I know what my maturity level in chat is, and it's not acceptable around youngins.
Youngins.
Yeah, exactly. No.
I'm gonna kill this guy.
We're all 18 plus here, except maybe Luke.
Ow, I've been burned.
Your affiliate date's almost your birthday, so it'll be easy to remember. Oh, that's nice!
I had better swap out. Alright, Asparagus, you're up. Mess him up, Asparagus. Vargas.
These grunts are so annoying.
There's so many of them.
There's so many of them.
Clutch. Slash.
Fucking length.
Yay, Chestnut's level 39. Maybe Chestnut can learn some fighting moves now?
No. Fuck you.
I would like for him to learn a fighting move.
My kid's saying it's hungry.
Yeah. My stomach is also hungry.
This is what I get for not eating breakfast before stream.
I don't have a burn here.
You don't have a burn? Oh no.
No, I don't have a burn. Oh, wait, I have a TM for power-up punch. It's only 40 power, but it does raise my attack stat.
If you wanted to learn fighting moves, just take him to a martial arts class. Good night, Swallow.
Eve Flare Aliana. Another fucking mighty man. Listen, girl, your yeens are not good enough to take out my jellyfish.
Swallow. Oh, I can only use Petal Dance. Just die. Die to death. Thank you.
hurt myself in my confusion. Alright, Chestnut, go get her. Punch.
It would be legit kind of cool if they did a Pokemon game where whatever region/era you were in just didn't have or use TMs, and you actually had to seek out people to teach your Pokemon new moves. That'd be kind of neat.
Like every new move was played by a move tutor.
You have to find like the specific. I feel like Pokemon would still like be able to learn moves on their own. Pokemon training montage would be really fun.
Oh my. We chased off that mysterious bunch before we could even get here. Well, I guess there's always room for more defenders of colors. I don't know why she's German now. All my French accents turned to German. Hey, I got some full spores. Those are
They have it where you could repeat a training to make it more effective. Interesting. That's an interesting idea.
like make it like a plus move.
Yeah. They probably won't ever do that, but it'd be a cool idea.
Alright, I'm off to Lumios. Because I'm done here in the thing, in the power plant.
I'll be there soon.
Yeah, I know you will. Because you're epic.
Too tired to argue.
Yeah. Get left and cherished, bitch. I ran into a trap edge. Oh, all my Pokemon were healed.
You have to do a surfing class with your Pokemon to teach it surf. That's cute. Make the montage a quick time event so you feel like you're a part of it. Surfing contest.
Yay! Potatoes level 36. That has no real significance. I just like the entire level.
I like that idea for.
Oh, hi, ass. You're looking scrumbly.
There he is. Arizona.
There's Arizona. Bye, Az. Arizona. I'm back in Lumios. I'm back in Lumois. Oh, look, it's my girlfriend's shop. It was me! I don't want to go to Person Tower. I want to go to...
Ooh, if you ever do make your own Pokemon clone game, we will play it.
Yeah.
Just make sure we can play it together. My request. Alright, now I gotta fight this asshole.
Yeah. You gotta fight both them assholes.
I don't have any...
Oh, right. The electric gym is here in Lumios.
Yeah.
It's Clement. Lemon. It's Clement.
I remember him being pretty easy the last time I played.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what Pokemon I had.
Futures now, thanks to science.
Science!
The mirror science. less impressive during the day.
We could just have pork as one of the types. Alright, team player admin. I'm gonna beat your fire type with a grass type. Bitch. You're shaking your head at me?
No, I'm bopping.
Oh, you're bopping, okay. That's fine.
I'm bit bopping friend time. Alright, are they gonna let me explore now? Can I go to the fashion shop?
Yeah.
I've got a passion for fashion.
You can go to the... You can go to a fashion shop. I don't know if you can go to the...
I can go to the one in Lumios.
Is there more than one in Lumios?
There's one in Lumios.
Then the one in Lumios is the one you can't go into.
Why not?
Because they're like, we are exclusive for people who are fashionable.
Oh, well.
And I don't remember how to get into it. It's like you have to do something real stupid.
Well, where even is it?
I don't remember.
But you know what? We might be able to get into the stone shop now, actually.
Mm.
Where are we right now? You'd think I'd know my way around, You'd think I'd know my way around Lumios at this point, but I still don't. I don't want to go spend money. On one of these streets, I think.
Yeah.
On what, Vernal Avenue or something? This is North Boulevard. Well, if I remember correctly from, if I remember correctly from,
These eat grass, so pork type is strong against grass type. Pigs will eat anything.
16. That'll institute, I think. Route 14. You also don't have a burn heal.
Yeah.
Well, I can't go to Route 14 or Route 16 yet, because I can't get my clef key.
Hmm.
They won't let me leave until I've beaten Clement.
But I could get a fairly polished Game Boy style version with 2 to 3 hours of content and 10 to 20 OG monsters in a month or so, once the initial February rush dies down. Huh. I mean, good luck. That seems like a lot of work.
It's a lot of monster designs.
Yeah.
It's like once you have the basic systems down,
Yeah.
I feel like adding more monsters is just a matter of design at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the style shop anyway?
You may have to look it up.
Nah. I'm more interested in the stone shop, actually, now that I think about it.
I'm dabbling with my other prototype lately, so I'm not as rusty anymore. Nice. Not being rusty anymore.
I want to be on South Boulevard. I'm just wandering around. This is not interesting for you guys, and I apologize for like
It's chill.
I just don't know. I don't know where I'm going.
We're talking about dance prototype.
Festival Avenue.
If I stick with Game Boy style art, I don't have to worry about animation. That makes things a lot easier. That does make things easier.
Yep.
I have so many game ideas. I also have so many game ideas, and
Oh, I'm Pokemon battling this person.
it's really hard to get those game ideas done when you can't code and your dad has ADHD.
Yes.
Like, I don't know why we stopped working on Eevee and Luna other than Dad is currently 3D printing a bowling alley.
Oh god, it's weird.
There's not much else I can do.
Yeah.
Ooh, full restores. Nice.
You can't teleport. I'm looking for the stone shop.
I have no idea where it is, so I can't help you, unfortunately.
I'm in Blue Plaza.
3D printed half of a large custom board gaming table. You're 3D printing a table? Huh.
Oh, this is Vernal Avenue. This is where the style shop is.
Did you get flame charge from this guy?
No, I forgot.
Oh, you should have done that.
I guess I have to be more stylish.
Yeah, you have to be stylish.
Asshole. Well, the stone shop should be on this street too, right? There it is. Stone shop. Stone Emporium. All I can get is fire, water, and leaf stones. Oh, I got a Blastoise tonight.
Oh.
For $1 million.
$1 million?
I don't even have a Blastoise. Well, whatever. I guess I'll head to the gym then. It'd be nice if my ground type would evolve, but that happens at.
Yeah, I don't know when Golett evolves either.
Find out both of these things.
It's as
level 42 for Rhydon.
it's the Honda Civic of printers. We have a Bamboo
Level
Labs
43 for Golett.
Level 43 for Golett. Okay. We have a Bamboo Labs X1
about,
Carbon.
about the same time.
It's pretty fucking fast.
They evolve at about the same time.
Okay.
Lumio City Gym. It's potato time. Potato time.
Let's go watch them light the tower. Again.
quiz gym. Alright, time for a quiz gym. Hosted by this child.
Yeah, Dad's bowling alley project is very well engineered in the physical parts of it.
Quiz time.
But-
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu.
It's Clefairy. It's called Stage Shop. They have a huge community. It's really cool. Anyways, so yeah, Dad's bowling alley project is very well engineered in the 3D model part, but the program is not great, and so Dad has been reprogramming it instead of doing the thing that could potentially, like, make us a couple bucks. He's
Listen.
instead spending hundreds of dollars to 3D print a 4-foot-long bowling alley.
Listen. This is 100% programmer behavior.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I think the last time I asked him about it, I was like, hey, like, did you run into a problem with Eevee and Luna? Like, what's going on? Like, why are we slowing down? And he was like, no, there's no problem. Uh-huh. Like, are you waiting on me for something? Do you need me to be doing something? Yeah, that was the answer we got. So, I don't know what's happening. I was thinking a full-size bowling alley. No, not a full-size bowling alley. It's 4 feet long. We still don't know where we're gonna put it.
It's Pikachu.
We still have no idea where it's gonna go.
That's
Damn it.
Fletchling. Who's that Pokemon? It's Tailo. It's Jigglypuff as seen from above.
Round.
Yeah. That's a Raichu. Oh, Raichu.
Raichu's really cute.
It's a girl Raichu. You can tell because of the blunted tail.
Yeah. I wish the heart shape was still there on the female Raichu. Because then I would totally, like, evolve my Pikachu.
Raichu's cuter.
I really like the heart-shaped tail.
I know. That's allowed. That was always allowed.
Yeah, this is fine for team setup, I guess.
You can't use their most
Bowling
powerful
alley for
moves
ants.
against me. Because I'm too strong. And also ground type. Mostly the second part.
Imagine someone going on Kickstarter and trying to demo the process of an actual full-size modular bowling alley that you can build anywhere, then pack up and take with you, and trying to make that look fun and practical to do.
Ding 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 ding,
I'm
I'm correct.
write you a love song.
I'm not gonna write you a love song. That's Pampor.
Pikachu! It's Pikachu!
It might be Pansage, actually. I think it's Pampor, though.
No, yours is Panfor. I saw it. It was Panfor.
Pampor.
Panfor.
There's an Ampor.
Aw, Dedenne. He's a cute little guy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Why am I so eepy? So eepy and full of eeps. I punched myself in the face. These motherfuckers won't stop using Confuse Ray.
Mm. Sorry, Dedenne. You're really cute.
Dedenne! Dedenne! Yeah! Bulldoze his ass.
Yeah!
That's not
Wait.
great phrasing.
Yeah, no.
Use Bulldoze on him. Good boy, snapping out of your confusion.
Pikachu!
I'm having fun, but I'm gonna fall fucking asleep.
Keep yawning, it makes me yawn.
I'm sorry. Oh, Penny used to yawn. Jack fell asleep.
I'm gonna make chat fall asleep.
You're falling asleep.
I am.
Yeah, me too. I can't go to sleep though.
Nope. We got 30 minutes left. And then we're gonna go downstairs and play more Pokemon. Like different tier Pokemon.
Well, I gotta go to the hop portal first.
Oh yeah. Okay. I guess that's
Then we can play more
important.
different Pokemon. I did it. I got it right. It was Pamper. You're correct. It's Pampor. Who's that Pokemon? It's Bingus. Oh, Bingus.
Something cutesy anecdote.
Hospital. Oh, the second one's Pavilion. Third one's Mothim. Number 2 is Pavilion. Vivian. Vivian. Wow, you're seriously gonna pick number 2? Yeah.
Yeah, cause I'm right.
Because I'm
bitch.
right, bitch.
Bitch.
Puzzle! Sorry, I really like Bustle and Minded. They're really cute. The thing is, they only really shine in double battles. No, Nightshade sucks.
Okay.
It deals damage equal to your level, but the higher your level, the less useful that is.
Yeah.
And then it's not useful at low levels either because you're only doing like a little bit of damage. So it's just not useful at all ever. Unlike other fixed damage moves like Sonic Boom or Dragon Rage.
You keep hearing croissant? Who's talking about croissant? I want a croissant.
Croissant.
I can get dad to take me to Paris Baguette this weekend. Get croissant.
The Croissant Steve.
Croissant Steve. You keep hearing croissant instead of plusle.
Oh, instead of Plusle.
ADHD Epiphany. Yeah, do it. Let it tell us your ADHD epiphany.
It's Emolga time for Emolga. Unluckily for you, I can shoot rocks out of my face. Ow, ow.
I'm gonna go grab another granola bar. I'll be right back.
I'm gonna shoot rocks out of my face at this flying sword. Come on, 3, 4, one more. One more, buddy. Yeah! The Emolga's dead! Emolga's dead! Emolga's dead! Yay! Heliolisk. normal electric. I'll keep that. Just auto-battling there for a bit. Oh no! I got punched real hard by something and died. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, that's not good. None of that is good. Poor Potato. You did so good.
Potato did its
I'm gonna
best.
power up punch this guy. Ow. Pow! That's cool. I got Chestnut as backup for this gym. You can Thunderbolt me all you want. It ain't gonna do shit. Pow! It wants to learn Water Pulse.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't learn Water Pulse. You already know Surf. Surf is better. Magnet type. That's Steel type. I can still punch it with my fighting fists. Power punch. Punch.
Ooh!
Oh, Julianne!
Julianne is evolving! Wanoa bar.
Wanoa ball.
Wanoa ball.
Double A. Now you need a Dusk Stone to get Sword Shield.
I wonder if I can buy one from the phone shop.
I mean, I couldn't, but maybe with another badge you could.
Hmm.
I don't know what the... Oh, Hyper Potion! Eat dirt.
What if I set up a VTuber with a face that animated the same way that South Park handles celebrities and Canadians? And I did a Hobby Ham Taro stream with that, completely in character, as the anti-Hobby Ham.
Or a punch!
That would be funny.
Super sturdy.
You could also just give him an Eviolite and keep him as double A forever.
Yep. I mean, that's my plan for Rhydon. I don't plan to make him Rhyperior. Stop using potions on the guy with sturdy. Fucking finally, jeez.
Oh gosh. I think it's this one.
Yeah. Pavilion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like his Heliolisk satellite dish.
I mean, I think if you did it once, it could be funny. Or if you did it as a bit on your stream, like
Eviolite doubling does.
if you had Hobby Ham Taro as a guest on your stream.
The voltage badge goes to you. Thunderbolt. Give him 24 Thunderbolt.
I'm not sure if Hobby Ham Taro actually bothers Hobby Ham or not.
Well, maybe after we battle, I'll see if anyone can learn Thunderbolt. As for our battle, let's battle right in front of the tower. Oh, hello, Professor. Let's ignore. Weedoo. Yeah, we can battle right outside of Prism Tower. That'll be the perfect venue.
Yeah.
You just gotta kick this guy's butt. Kick him right in his booty hole. Kick the child in his bungus.
Yeah.
Kick him.
I gotta
Kick
him.
that child.
I'm gonna kick the child.
Kick the child.
Not the water.
Oh no.
I like his arms.
I like his Heliolisk satellite thing. His weird mechanical hand.
Yeah. I'm bopping, I'm jamming. We're watching Jack do stuff because You gotta wait for me.
we gotta wait for Jack because Jack's cool. I gotta battle Jack because Jack's cool and I like battling them.
See, the funny part about this dance is that you're like mostly keeping your head still, so it doesn't actually show up on the video.
Yeah, I'm doing like a little floppy arm dance where I just kind of like move my shoulders a lot, keep my arms limp so that they kind of flop around like a muppet.
It's actually working pretty well. Wait, what? Oh, right, because I did, yeah. I know what happened. I know what's going on.
Double weak to ground, in fact, because it's steel and electric.
Oh, right, I got
You
reminded.
have no ground moves,
I
despite
had
being
one.
a ground type.
I had one, but I thought rollout was better than what I had.
Use dynamic punch.
I use rollout.
Steel resists rock.
It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I mean, maybe you'll just miss and then you won't be locked in.
Nope. We're just gonna do this for a little while. It's fine. I might die.
Oh, you're gonna die.
Whoa. I don't know if
It's not.
actually.
Steel's weaknesses are fire, ground, and fighting. Electric is only weak to ground.
Fine.
It has sturdy, not levitate, so your fire spin would actually come quite in handy here. Why do you take flame charge?
Because what I had was scratch,
Well, fair enough.
and I figure if I run out of PP on another move,
Maybe
then-
like Dazzling Gleam or something.
yeah, it'll get replaced eventually.
Good. This other Pokemon is Heliolisk,
Yeah. Oh, bitch.
and yeah, he's gonna do that.
Like.
But then you're gonna Fire Spin, and now you can just one-shot him with Mystical Fire. Because now he doesn't have the sturdy to back him up. This is why it took me so fucking long to kill him. Heliolisk is normal, electric, so ground and fighting are its only weaknesses.
Well, we'll hit Hamtaro could be funny. I think the main concern is It would be for such a niche audience, like only people who are already in on the joke. Yeah.
Odd. You just fucking went to sleep, that's what. I even like got plenty of sleep last night. I'm tired.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of emotionally exhausting stuff going.
Yeah.
And physically exhausting because my sleep schedule's been absolutely wrecked.
At this point, I think your audience is only people who are in on the joke, though, right? So... Yay, voltage badge! I got a voltage badge. Thunderbolt! Let's go! I think I have the lower version of that right now. My little sister's being annoying.
Yeah, gotta get back in the elevator. Gotta go to one.
Oh, if it's 50-50, then maybe it's better not to do that. No! Don't fall asleep! No sleep! No sleep!
No, I'm awake. Pokemon. Let's fight battle.
Battle.
Battle contest.
Battle.
It's time for a battle contest. Yes. I'm gonna die. By that I mean Potato's gonna get wiped out by like your first move.
No sleep till Brooklyn. Veto 2 Mini. Veto 2 Mini would be. Can I choose the music?
You can. Music 2.
Yeah, let's do music 2 this time.
Let's try it.
I don't know which music is which. Veto 2 Mini is great. Also, highly recommend if you're into PNG tubers. PNG Tuber Plus, I believe, is really good.
It's like music 2 standard Pokemon trainer battle.
I think that's the one I'm thinking of, where like you can like animate stuff. There was also another one that I saw that I don't think was PNG Tuber Plus.
I don't know why you're bothering sleep, because you're just gonna one-shot me.
Because it's funny.
It is weird. Yeah. And put my rhinoceros to sleep.
Yeah, I did.
Why would you do that?
Now you can't hurt me.
I couldn't hurt you anyway with fucking pedal dancing. You're gonna just one-shot. Double super effective.
Because now he doesn't feel the pain.
Wow.
That's horrible, I'm so sorry.
Why would you say that?
I don't know. His movement filter is gone. My brain said you should say this thing, it would be really funny, and then I did. And it was just awful.
Yep.
PNG Tuber Plus is hard. Be heavy on your output. That's because it does more. Oh, that might be what I was thinking of. PNG Tuber Plus. Is that the one where you could do like tail animations? I don't remember. There's one of them. One of them you can do like tail.
Hey, you should be dead.
No.
I'm certainly not going to be. Congratulations, you confused yourself. Flamburst. Flambe used Flamburst. Idiot. You want to walk as a pirate is free. You are a pirate. I really need that light ball. Or an Eevee light.
Yeah.
Put your Eevee light on the ring.
Yeah.
So you can get yourself a light ball.
I don't know.
You should. I have one.
I don't know where you got it.
I don't remember where I got it either. I talked to some NPC that gave it to me. Mega Charizard too strong. Charizard too strong, too fast. Touch my bones. Touch my bones.
The easiest one would be Veto Tube Mini. Yeah, you literally need 4 frames. 2 if you don't want them to blink.
When you get Flambursted.
Ooh, an N64 theme for your channel would be great.
Ooh, I like that.
You could do like a low poly 3D model of your avatar,
You killed Flambe.
and then turn that into a PNG tuber
You know what? It's peanut time.
with renders.
Fucking Charizard is ridiculous.
Learning Blender is 90% learning shortcut keys and 10% learning actual 3D modeling.
Allowed to press B to go back, but you have to tap the screen to actually do anything. Well, I think we should not proceed any further today. I know we've got 10 minutes, but...
Oh yeah, and
that's horrible. Why would you say that?
why would you say that?
I'm blinking, but it's like making my eyes move different speeds.
What? It might be because you're like turned to the side.
Maybe.
Sometimes it does weird stuff when you turn.
Yeah, I'm just doing a like lizard blink, little frog blink, where it's like, like one at a time.
Frog blink.
I mean, I guess we could go a little further.
I mean, I could also just run around and do random shit.
Yeah. I got my random shit in a little earlier, so. I mean, yeah. You just wander around.
Where's the stone shop?
It's on Vernal Avenue, same as the fashion shop. It's just I don't know where Vernal Avenue is.
Okay, I'll just check.
It's near Blue Plaza. Nope, that's Estebal Avenue. Oh, it's on Estebal Avenue. So go to Blue Plaza and then.
Okay.
Wait, is it? No, I'm wrong. It is on Vernal Avenue.
Autumnal Avenue. There's a Pokeball shop.
You can get to it from Blue Plaza anyway. It's just the other way around. Just the other way.
It surprises me that VTube Studio has so much difficulty doing anything besides wide open eyes.
I'm gonna go to a cafe and maybe that'll make me more stylish.
Even with the heavier tracking turned on in a variety of lighting conditions, you need to change your model, the settings on your model, to basically the settings on the left side, that's your input. On the eyes, you need to change the 1 to a 2 because most VTuber models are set up so that you can open your eyes wider. But VTube Studio has that on 1 as default. So that's why. That's why it's doing that.
Hold on. Somebody said there was a... Oh wait, no, we've already been to Cypress. Yeah, I'm thinking Calmarine. No, there's no boutique in Calmarine. Dang it.
Which?
No, Maniac Mansion was where you put the hamster in a microwave.
What?
Yeah, well you can. You don't have to.
I've had that issue with every model I've tried. I'll have to try that then. Maybe that'll help things.
Nope, I can.
Yeah.
I can still only.
It's
I don't know. I don't want a Blastoise site.
I can't find the freaking. Can't find it.
It's the one that is directly at the bottom.
This is yellow.
It's the one directly at the bottom of the bottom of the city. So it's like the southmost. So I guess if you're coming in from like where we entered originally, then you just go straight up, and that would be it.
Okay.
I want to be stylish. Let me.
I think you have to. There's a certain thing that you have to do. This is green.
Yeah. Well, you could get to it from there. There's
here.
Vernal.
Okay.
Yeah. So turn around. That one with the stone picture. That's the herb shop. The stone shop is right next to it.
Yeah, most VTuber models, you have to change the settings yourself. You have to be the one to make sure that it matches your face. That's what I did with my model. That's what I did with Penny's model. I rigged them, and then
did a good job.
In VTube Studio, you have to basically go through all of your parameters and sort of make the face that you think that parameter makes your model make and adjust accordingly. It's a huge pain in the ass, but once you get it, good, it
We sell
follows
various
your
stones.
face. It follows your face really well.
Only 3. Check the fancy looking gentleman in the suit there.
Charizard X.
He's selling it for $1 million.
Yeah, he's selling it for $1 million.
I wish I could like give you money to buy that because I want that.
Yeah, I know.
I want that Mega Charizard X. Wonder if there's like treasure things I haven't sold yet.
Yeah, no, even custom VTuber models, even ones that you make yourself or you have commissioned for you. I messed with like 80% of the parameters, but I gave up before the very bottom, so I probably just missed the one that I needed. There's a search function, so you can look specifically for your eyes if you need to. But yeah, all VTuber models, you probably already know this, but all VTuber models basically need to be adjusted to your face. What?
I don't have anything I can sell, like, or,
I don't have that Eviolite.
yeah, I don't remember where it was. That was like a week ago. I can't remember things that far back.
Look at this EP Skiddo.
Yeah. You should sit on it.
I don't think I can.
The Skiddo looks so comfortable sleeping.
It
That's
does.
your thoughts. That's what you're thinking.
It does. I want to give it a little kiss. Mwah.
Yeah. I can barely see anything through my own head.
Yeah, that's because my iPad basically died, so.
Oh, well.
To keep up with chat. And we're not really
That's
doing anything.
fine. That's fine.
We're just kind of wandering around.
I'm gonna go out to Route 14 and see if I can maybe get one step closer to my goal of
Yeah.
oh, maybe I have to go through Route 16.
You're out of possessions to sell. You can always sell yourself.
It was cool enough to go to Route 15, kid. Baby, wabble, wabble. Oh, how do I get to Route 15? I have to go through Route 14. Why won't it let me go to... Ugh. Why won't it let me go?
I don't remember what we're supposed to do next.
Oh, we have to go to Lysander Cafe.
Oh, right.
We have to go to the cafe and do, like, story events and shit. Blah. I want to do story. I want to catch keys. I want to catch keys. Gotta go to the big red cafe and
Yeah.
go right south of the tower. Apparently.
Yeah.
Actually, how are my Pokemon doing? Did I heal them?
Looks like you did.
I can't fucking see through my own head. How much health do you have? Ah, whatever. Fine.
There's a Pokemon Center right here.
I'm literally gonna go there just in case.
I don't think we probably shouldn't start the story.
Yeah, let's not start any story events today. We'll start that next week. Ba, 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 ba.
It is time to change babysitters anyway.
Yay, babysitter. I gotta go take my wife to the hospital.
Oh gosh. Alright, everybody hop in the car. We're gonna go to the babysitter's house.
Yay, babysitter. Not me though. I'm not going to babysitter.
Yeah, we're not going to the babysitter's house.
I'm going to hospital.
We'll see you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow for something.
I'll see you next week, provided that nobody dies.
Yeah, nobody's
They
gonna
won't.
die.
Nobody's gonna
Everything's fine. Okay, bye!
die. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna go check.